So now that you've read more about adolescence, we are going to do an activity that is going to help you relate more to the topic and help you gain a deeper understanding of it. So I'm going to show you a PowerPoint, and it's going to have a list of vocabulary words that we're going to go over. And so you might know all of the words, and then you might not know any of the words. And that's okay, because if you don't know the words, we're going to learn them today. And if you do know the words, then this is just going to be more of a review for you, and we're going to work more with them in our activities we're going to do. Okay, so here's the PowerPoint, and what I want you to do is just read over them and maybe write down which words you do know and which words you don't know. And I'll give you about just a few minutes to do that. And then once you're done writing down the words, what I want you to do is compare with the person sitting next to you and just compare your answers and see what words they wrote down and what words you wrote down, and just see if you can maybe explain new words to them or have them explain new words to you. So, next, now that you're done with that, now that it's been a few minutes, I'm going to put up the next slide. And this slide has pictures on it. And so what I want you to do is see if the pictures help you with the definitions at all. So look over the words. So up here, the words are written below the picture. And so I just want you to look at the words and just see if the images give you any new clues as to what the words might mean, and see if it helps you remember any of the words. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then I want you to compare with a partner again. Okay, so now that you're done with that, can I get a volunteer? And I'm just going to read through the words, and I just want you to see if you want to just say any of the definitions of the words. So, okay, so does anyone want to define the word experimenter to me? Yes.
Someone who tries new things.
Good. Right. So an experimenter is someone who tries new things. It could be sports, like soccer, volleyball, or other hobbies. And they're doing this to find what they like to do for fun. So in the picture, the girl is playing soccer, so she's trying new things. She's experimenting. The next one is identity crisis. So when someone goes through a confusing state, or they're just confused about who they are or what their personality is. And then we have the personality, which is, it makes up who we are, it defines us. So maybe someone's really quiet, meaning they don't talk very loud, or someone's shy, so they don't like to talk, or the opposite, maybe they're outgoing or loud. And then there's imaginary audience. And so the imaginary audience is when someone is self-conscious or egocentric, and they think everyone is talking about them or listening to them, when this isn't the case. And this is common, as you read about in your reading, in adolescence. And then the words egocentric, which means that everything revolves around this person. So in the picture, there's the universe revolving around them, and this is also common in adolescence. And then this can lead to self-consciousness, which is just when someone is really insecure or embarrassed about themselves. Maybe they think they're not pretty or they're not smart. And like in the picture, she's covering her face. so she's self-conscious. And then we have the word conflict. So this is just another word for arguing or fighting between two people. Like in an adolescent's life, maybe it's the teenager fighting with the parents. And then we have the parenting styles, which is there's permissive, which is when a parent gives the kids too much freedom. And so if they do something bad, the parent doesn't lecture them or discipline them, meaning that they don't tell them what they're doing is wrong and punish them. And then there's authoritarian, which is like too strict, and they don't give the kids any freedom. And then a good balance between the two is democratic, when the parents balance being strict but also giving them freedom. So I'm going to take away the PowerPoint, and I want you to write down each word and try to define it just based off of what we just talked about as a class and what you may have already known and what you've learned. Okay, so now I'm going to hand out a worksheet, and what we're going to do is, so the first half of the worksheet we're going to do all together as a class, and the second half you'll do, first I want you to look over it by yourself, and then you'll work on it with a partner. And so for the first half of the worksheet, we have different scenarios. We have 6 different scenarios. And so these are stories of characters who are adolescents, and they have just different stories about them. And there's a question about each teenager, and we're just going to respond to those as a class. So we're just going to popcorn read, meaning one person will read a sentence and then the next person will read another sentence. So can I have a volunteer read the first sentence of scenario 1? Thank you.
When Christy was an adolescent, she tried playing basketball, soccer, softball, and volleyball.
Thank you. And then the next volunteer will read, but since you're the only volunteer, can you just read the rest?
She kept trying sports until she found one she liked. She also tried painting, singing, and acting and other arts until she found her favorite hobby, which was drawing.
Okay, thank you. And so then can I have a volunteer read the question?
Was Christy a great experimenter as a teenager?
So what does everyone think?
Yes.
Right. So I would say yes, because as we just learned, an experimenter is someone who tries new things. And Christy is trying new things. She's playing basketball, soccer, softball, and all these different things to try to figure out what she likes to do for fun. And then we're going to go through the rest 6 scenarios as a class. And then, so now to the second half of the worksheet. So now that we're more familiar with the vocabulary, we're going to answer the questions on the worksheet, the second half. And so what I want you to do is just read the questions to yourself. And these questions are about you. So they're asking, were you an experimenter? Did you have an identity crisis when you were a teenager? What were your parents like? So they're just questions that you're going to relate to you. And hopefully, since we just did the activity reading about other people as a class, you have a better understanding of the words and the questions. And so I'll be walking around in case anyone has questions they want to ask me, but I also want you to work with a partner if you need help. And then when you're done, I want you to compare them with a partner so that you can see, were you and your partner similar as teenagers, or was one of you did more experimenting than the other, or so stuff like that. And I also don't want just yes or no questions. So try to give as much detail and words and explanation. So instead of saying, were you a great experimenter? Instead of saying yes, I want you to say why you were. So give examples. So maybe you played a lot of sports, or maybe you tried new things a lot. And then if it's no, say why you didn't. So I'll give you about 5 to 10 minutes to do that, and then I'll just have a volunteer come and read their responses in front of the class.